Hey guys, Lou here from LT's Custom Woodworks. Welcome to the shop. Another day, another dollar. Today we are back on the bedroom suite build. Now I built the two dressers. If you haven't seen those videos, or that video, there's two videos to that part. I will leave that description below and it will be at the end of the video as well. Today we're going to get started on the makeup station that sits in the middle. Now this makeup station is going to be two different colors. We're going to have the white top, the weathered gray on the bottom. It's going to have drawers on the right hand side, drawers on the left hand side. The two drawers that I'm going to put on each side, on the top drawer there's going to be another little panel that you can slide over and there's more storage underneath. The top is going to be white. There's going to be a makeup mirror with lights, USB. That I had purchased separately. I'm not making that. And that's pretty much about it. And then I'll make the chair, the stool, and then there's going to be the rest of the bedroom suite, which is the nightstands and the bedroom frame. So I'm going to get started on the drawers itself. Now the width of this, I have the heights here. So it's the height is 30 inches, 45.5 inches long, 17 inches deep. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing the two cabinets. I will do that separately. I'll do the back panel, then I'll do the top, and then go from there. So I'm going to start by cutting up some maple stock. This is done in maple. There might be some birch in this build. I don't think I'm going to be using any birch, but there might be. And there's going to be the pine drawers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start making the sides, and I'm going to cut my stock maple, and I'm going to start off with the legs. And I'm going to do that at the miter station. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this tongue off on this stock that I have here. I can't remember what this came from, but I bought a whole whack load of this stuff from a business that was closing, and it had these tongues on here. I just cut them off, and I can use this as the leg. So I'm going to set up my saw and rip down all these pieces here. So those longer pieces were cut at 27.5. I got these side pieces that are going to be a foot long. And again, I'm going to cut the tongue off them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise this blade, or lower the blade, it's a little too high. And I'm going to raise it to 3/8, or lower it to 3/8. Okay, I'm going to run my first pass. Now basically I'm just going to center it, I'm just going to eye it. I'm going to run my first pass. And then what I'm going to do, once I run my first pass on all the pieces, I'll sneak the fence over a bit. I'll run my pass again and I'll test it on the board to make sure I get a nice snug fit. Now that I got all these sanded and ready to go, I'm going to, on the bottom of the cabinet, there's going to be a 3/4 inch plywood that is going to be underneath, but even with this bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to space this out 3/4 inch. I'm going to cut a groove, and I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to bring it into about a 1/2 inch. saw must be plugged with dust or something's going on there because it's shooting up and it shouldn't be. I'm gonna have to take a look at that at some point today. So basically, this would be the bottom of the panel. And that is going to sit like that. I will trim these down to 12 3/4. And these panels are cut at 24.5 long. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to line these up, and I'm just going to mark for my domino. Then I can cut these in. We got to make sure that we get one of these for the bottom. Okay, so I'm cutting in my dowels, and I'm using the 30mm dowels for these, or dominoes, should I say. Okay, so we're ready for our glue up. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to dowel in the dominoes on the one side for now. I'm going to drop one of the panels in. Now you want to make sure that you get the right side facing out, which will be this side. Now that I got these done, I'm going to put these in clamps. And again, just slight pressure. I'll make sure they're all squared up. Bingo bango chicho chachi. Bob is your uncle. Christine is your aunt. Bill's your sister. That works for me. Then I'll sand this again in the morning. 3 more to glue up. Now that I have all my sides done, I'm going to sand everything down nicely on both sides, and then I'm going to start cutting that bottom panel of the drawers. So I'll start off by sanding these up and getting them all ready. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut, as you can see I got this channel in here, this dado for the bottom plywood. I'm going to cut this off here, this little nub on each end, and I will do that to all of them. That way, when I stand it up, my plywood can go underneath and it'll go right across the whole thing. Okay, so for the bottom, I'm just going to use some Baltic birch plywood for the bottom. You're not going to see that. That's going to be under the drawer itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a bead of glue down the side here. I'm just going to tack it in with some brad nails for now. And then I'm going to drive some screws in right after that. This is just to hold it in place while I drive my screws in. This Baltic birch, there's no need to. So what I've done is I cut some blocks. These are at 10.5 inches long, and I drilled some pocket holes, and I made 2 of them for each one. One's going to go in the front here, like this, and I will pocket hole screw those together, and one at the back. But on the front ones, and I will do the same thing to this one, on the front one, I'm going to edge band this before I put it on. It just makes it so much easier to do that now than it is to do it later. So I'm going to edge band 2 of them right now, and that's the ones facing the front. The back, you'll never see it. It does not matter. Same technique. I iron it on, and then I use my file to cut it down to the size of the board. And that should be hot enough. And then I just file it down to a 5-degree angle, and that gives it that nice bevel, nice rounded edge. And it's go time from there. Now that that's cut, I'll take my sanding sponge and I'll sand the edge at a 5-degree, and that is nice. Nothing will snag up against it. And before I edge band, I always sand the bottom, get all the grease, get all the film residue, anything on there, otherwise you're not going to get a good bond. And I always sand the edges a little bit, just for slivers and that. And that is banging. I'll do the other one. Now that I got that flush, I will drive the pocket hole screws into place using 1.25 inch pocket hole screws. Now I can start working with the bottom kick plate, and I'm going to be making that out of 1.5 inch stock maple. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kick it back a little bit. It's just so it matches my LED lighting on the dressers that I do. So it's going to wrap around this and the bed frames as well. So I'm going to start cutting that on the table saw to 1.5 inch wide. Okay, so I mitered my pieces, and I drilled some pocket hole screws in the back. I'm going to glue it and pin it with brad nails, and then I will screw it down with 1.25 inch pocket hole screws on the bottom of the base. So on the front here, I just marked, now this is the bottom, and all I did was marked 1.5 inch back. I'm going to place this in on that line and drive these screws in. So I got my drawer slides that I used a filler. It's basically about 3/16, 1/4 inch, 3/16 and around there. I use that as a filler. I'm going to screw my drawer slide on each side. There's going to be another drawer slide that's going to sit up on the top here somewhere. And I will screw that into place as well, and I'll do it to both of these. So what I'm going to do here is I measured halfway up, and I'm going to put or a little bit more than halfway actually, 14.25 from the bottom up. I'm going to put these fillers in, and this is for my my other drawer slide to screw onto. I'm going to use 1/4 inch plywood. Now for my drawer boxes, I'm going to cut a dado on the bottom, and the way I do it is I set up my saw. I'm going to go about 3/8 up. I'll run my first pass and I'll raise the blade about a 1/2 inch, 3/8, about 3/8. And then I'll run that cut. I'll do it to all the pieces. I'll just sneak that fence over a little bit and I'll keep doing that and run my passes through until I get a nice snug fit with the plywood. Now for assembling these, I'm not going to pocket hole screw these. They're such small boxes. Not a lot of weight going in there. So basically I'm just going to glue it and pin it with 2-inch brad nails. I'm not going to glue the plywood in. You do need some movement with the plywood. I just got into the shop this morning and it is freezing outside. I guess we got used to the warm weather here in Winnipeg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some spacers down. I'll throw the box in. I'm just going to pull the box back and pull the slides out and screw it into place. Now on this side here, I still have my back panels to put on, which is just going to be 1/8 of an inch. Now I can start working on my drawer. Once my drawers are done, I can do my face fronts for the drawer fronts. And this is ready for stain. The top is going to be done separately. It's going to be done in a white. I've cut some Baltic birch pieces, and what these are for is they're going to slide in here. They're going to go on each side, and that's just so I can screw my drawer slides to. The width of my drawer, we got 13 inches. I'm going to cut 2 at 13 inches. I'll cut the, you know what, I'll do the length first. I'm going to go 14 inches. 2 of them 14, and I'm going to make these 2 inches. Now that I got my pieces cut, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a dado in this for the plywood, 1/4 inch plywood. So I'll run it through the table saw. Same method that I used on these, so I'm not going to film that part. I'll cut my plywood, I'll do my dado. I'm just going to pin these in with brad nails. It's a very small drawer, 14 by 11. Nothing fancy, nothing big, nothing elaborate. So glue it, pin it, we're good to go. So I'm going to do this off camera. I'm going to cut these dados in, cut my plywood, put it together, and then screw it into place. And then I'm ready for these drawer fronts. That is slicker than snot. Now I just got to do my drawers, and we're ready to rock and roll. So I got all my pieces cut, my stock and my maple plywood. I got everything sanded, and I even marked them out for my dominoes. I'm going to use a number 6 cutter, and I'm going to start cutting for my dominoes on all my pieces, and then I'll double check everything, I'll clean out the holes, and I'll get ready up for glue up. Okay, so we're ready for glue up. I'm going to start off with putting my dominoes on the rails first. I will glue the plywood afterwards, and I will glue all corners and everything. Then what I'll do is I'll glue this one side. Then before I glue this side, I will do the sides of where the joint is, just to get a better bond. One in the middle. Now I'm not going to over tighten it like crazy, but I will double check all corners to make sure we are ready to rock and roll. And it looks pretty promising on this one. Okay, so I got my doors all glued up, my drawer fronts. I'm going to put a bevel on a corner so it matches the dressers. I'm not even going to hook up the desk collection to this. I'm just going to run it through. It's a couple of cuts here and there, nothing major, so I'll get that cut in and sanded down. I'm starting to mark out the holes for the drawer fronts, and these are the door handles I'm using. They got a thread in the back. It threads into place. It's a different design. I've never seen it before like this, so I don't know if you can get a good look at that. It's got the threads, and you got your grab pull underneath here. I'm going to drill the holes in the center of all the door fronts, and then these are going to be put on right at the very end. I'm not even going to test fit it. I've done it on a scrap piece to get my right size in that, but I'm not going to mount these and then take them off before staying, because the threads are so fine that I don't want to screw up the threads on the plywood. So the only thing I'm going to do is just drill the hole, center it, and then I'll install these at the very, very end. So now it's time to mount the drawer fronts. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drive the number 6 screw, 1/2 inch, into the center to hold it in place. I'll pull the drawer out, screw it from the back side. It's the easiest way, the best way to do it, I find, doing something like this. So I'm just going to line everything up to where it's got to go. And then just drive that screw in. Here I'm just going to use a 1/4 inch spacer. Drop this in the center. Make sure we're good here. Again, we're going to drive this screw in the middle. I got all my drawer fronts mounted. There's some touch-ups I need to do. And on the inside of the boxes, there's going to be a little small box inside that's going to slide back and forth. I still need to build those. And then this is ready for stain. The top is going to be built afterwards because that is being done in white. So in the meantime, I'm going to start by building the little small boxes up in the front here. I'll drive these pins in. And I will do this to both boxes. This is fantastic, man. We are banging on all cylinders here today. Okay. So at this point, basically now I can remove all the drawer fronts, remove the drawers. This is ready for stain. I gave it a last sand. It's all ready to go. It's going to be in a weathered gray. The drawer boxes are not getting done. Neither are these. These are all staying the same. I'm ready for my stain, and I am using the weathered gray. I'm going to start off with the doors, and then I will stain the unit itself. This is maple. This is hard maple, so I am going to leave it on for a few seconds before I wipe it. Give it time for it to soak in. And this is the last piece of it that needs to be stained. And then I got this all complete. Once this dries, I'll put the backing on. So I'm going to be spraying a good coat of sand and sealer, and then I'm going to put my 3 coats of lacquer. After everything's dry, probably in about a half hour, I'll sand everything down with a 220 or 320, and then you can use either or. I find there's no difference between the two. And basically with this stuff, you're just wiping it down. You're not, you know, it's not a lot of effort to sand down the sealer. It sands so nicely. And then I can put my 3 coats of lacquer. And I'll be using 35% sheen. Now that the sand and sealer is all done, I'm putting the 3 coats of pre-cat lacquer, and everything is sanded and all that's ready to go. Now it's just a matter of spraying the 3 coats every 15-20 minutes. She's all dry. It's the next day. So I'm going to get started on putting all the drawer slides back in and getting the doors put together with the handles. So for the top, I'm going to do 3/4 inch Baltic birch plywood instead of using the maple, because it is being painted over top or lacquered over top with a white. So you're not going to see the grain, you won't notice. And then I'm going to put a maple stock, just a 2-inch piece at the edge of it. Then I'm going to bevel it on the router so it matches all the doors and everything else. So I'm going to start off by cutting this top. This top is 45.5 long by 17 inches wide. For the top, I got this stock maple that's 1.5 inches wide, and I'm going to domino it secure it in place, glue it and domino it, and then once it all dries and sets up, I will sand everything down and get it ready for a clear coat of lacquered white. I will put this in clamps. And I'm going to clamp it up for probably till the next day. I got enough to keep me busy in the meantime. Usually 4 hours is okay. Let that sit for a while. I'm going to cut a bevel on this like I did with the doors for the dresser. That way this top kind of matches everything else, the theme of the dressers itself. So I'm going to run it on the router table. I'm going to spray the sand and sealer. And then in about 20 minutes, I'm going to sand it down and spray 3 coats of white clear. I got the vanity top where I want it lined up to. We're all good there. I'm going to screw 4 screws of the 1¼ pocket hole screws from underneath. So the only thing that is left now is the stool. Got the carpet on the ground. The LED lighting, I had ordered it. It should be in a few days. And that's going to go across the whole bottom of the vanity and the dressers. And I got the 2 on both sides. The stool, the next step is to complete the bedroom set is going to be the nightstand and the bedroom frame. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you don't lose out on any upcoming videos, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.